You know those people online, the ones who pop into a discussion, maybe not to push their own view, but just dismantle yours.
Oh, yeah. The ones who seem to argue just to make you question everything you thought you knew. It's like a sport sometimes.
Exactly. It feels very modern, very internet-driven, this kind of constant provocation.
It does. It feels like a product of platforms built for, well, friction, constant engagement, constant debate.
But here's the thing. Our sources today suggest someone perfected this, about 2,400 years before the first comment section.
Ah, you're talking about Socrates.
Socrates, the original philosophical provocateur, maybe even, dare I say it, the original troll, operating right there in the Athenian marketplace.
Well, troll is provocative language itself, but his method was certainly disruptive. He was all about public inquiry, forcing self-examination. So yeah, our mission today is to get a handle on how he operated, why it was so earth-shattering for Athens that they ultimately, well, silenced him permanently.
Right? Poisoned him. It's extreme. We need to understand that journey and what his, let's say, complicated legacy means for how we think and argue today.
Exactly. He turned ordinary conversations into these high-stakes intellectual challenges. Let's dig in.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're talking Athens, roughly 399 BCE. What's happening there?
Well, Athens is this bustling, pretty chaotic democracy. Reputation is everything. And Socrates, he's not chasing power, he's not charging fees like the sophists. He spends his days buttonholing the city's movers and shakers.
The powerful people, the ones who think they have all the answers.
Precisely. The generals, the politicians, the poets, anyone claiming expertise. And he hits them with these deceptively simple questions. What is justice? What is beauty? What is piety?
And he's doing this out in the open.
Right in the Agora, the central marketplace, the hub of public life. You couldn't really avoid him if you were prominent. He'd sort of philosophically ambush you.
Okay, and one really interesting point from the sources is that he never wrote anything down. Not a single word. Why? That seems odd for a thinker.
It was absolutely deliberate, strategic even. The thinking is he didn't want his arguments frozen in text, potentially taken out of context, as the material puts it.
Ah, so it gave him wiggle room.
Huge wiggle room. Plausible deniability. If the argument only really exists in that live conversation, it's much harder to pin down later to use his words against him definitively. He kept himself fluid, you know.
Total philosophical freedom then. And when he engaged someone, it wasn't really a discussion, was it? More like an interrogation.
Yeah, it wasn't a friendly debate club meeting. It was more like a trap. When he asked, what is virtue? He wasn't expecting a neat definition. He was initiating a process, the Socratic method, designed to show the other person they didn't actually know what they were talking about.
He's pulling the rug out from under them.
Systematically, step by step, question by question, until they were forced to admit their own ignorance.
But crucially, he wasn't then saying, okay, here's the real answer.
No. That's key. His goal wasn't to replace their ignorance with his certainty. It was to make them aware of the ignorance. He truly believed that wisdom begins with acknowledging what you don't know.
A noble goal, maybe, but I can see how that would really annoy people.
Yeah.
Especially powerful people.
Annoys, putting it mildly. Imagine being a respected leader, publicly backed into a corner, forced to admit you don't understand a fundamental concept you maybe just gave a speech about. It's humiliating.
And if he's doing this constantly, especially with younger Athenians watching, maybe even starting to imitate him.
That's exactly where the trouble escalates. His ideas start trending, as we'd say. The establishment sees him not just as an irritant, but as a destabilizing force, a threat to the established order.
Which leads directly to the charges, doesn't it? Corrupting the youth.
Yeah, that charge, along with impiety, not respecting the state god, sounds a bit abstract now, but back then, in post-war Athens, it was incredibly serious.
Why so serious? What did corrupting the youth actually imply to them?
It meant undermining the core values, the traditions, the very moral fabric holding this city together. Athens was deeply religious, deeply traditional, questioning the elders, questioning the gods. That felt like attacking the foundations of the state itself. It was basically treason, framed philosophically.
Okay, so the stakes were incredibly high. And the trial itself, the process.
Yeah.
It wasn't like our modern courts.
Not at all. The sources describe this huge jury, 500 Athenian citizens. Essentially, a significant chunk of the voting population decided his fate directly.
Wow. Talk about public opinion.
Yeah.
And the choice was stark, right? Guilty or innocent, and then the penalty phase.
Exactly. First the verdict, then a separate vote on punishment, fine, exile, or death by hemlock.
And Socrates facing this massive jury, potentially facing death. He could have played the game, right? Apologized, shown some humility.
He could have. Many expected him to. But no, he did the absolute opposite. His defense wasn't really a defense. It was another Socratic session aimed right back at the jury.
He put them on trial, essentially.
Pretty much. He told them they were the ones living in ignorance, and that he was actually a blessing to the city, a gadfly sent by the gods to wake them up. He refused to apologize. He doubled down.
And then came the penalty phase. This is where it gets almost unbelievable. They ask him to suggest his own punishment.
Right. Standard procedure. A defendant could propose an alternative penalty, usually a fine or exile, hoping the jury would choose the lesser option. This was his chance to save his own life.
And he suggests.
He suggests that he deserves free meals for life at public expense. In the Prytaneum, the place reserved for Olympic victors and city heroes, he argued he was a public benefactor and should be rewarded.
That is breathtakingly defiant. It's like demanding they thank him for making their lives difficult.
It's pure provocation. Consistent with his principles, maybe, but guaranteed to infuriate anyone on the fence. He basically dared them to sentence him to death.
And they did, though the vote was close, apparently.
It was 280 guilty votes out of 500. Not a landslide. But that final act of defiance, that refusal to compromise even an inch, likely pushed enough jurors over the edge. He forced their hand.
So the verdict is death. But the story doesn't quite end there. He had friends, powerful friends even. They offered him a way out, didn't they?
They did. They arranged an escape plan. He could have fled Athens, lived out his days in exile somewhere else. It was a real possibility.
But he refused. Why? After all that defiance, why not slip away?
This is the moment that really seals his legacy, transforming him from just a contrarian into a philosophical icon. He argued it would be hypocritical. He'd lived his entire life under Athenian law, benefited from its order. To break those laws now, just to save himself, that would invalidate everything he stood for.
He said he'd rather die consistent than live hypocritical. That's an incredible commitment.
It really is. Principles over existence itself. Philosophers. 1, self-preservation. 0, as the saying goes.
And his final moments. He didn't just die quietly.
No, he turned his execution into a final lesson. Surrounded by his weeping students, he calmly drank the hemlock, the poison, and spent his last hours discussing philosophy, specifically the immortality of the soul, like he was live-streaming his own stoic demise.
The ultimate performance of his convictions. And we know all this primarily because of one student, right?
Plato. Absolutely crucial. Plato wasn't just the student, he was the biographer, the dramatist. His writings, like the Apology, cemented Socrates not just as a local troublemaker, but as the first great martyr of Western philosophy. He crafted the narrative that endured.
Which inspired countless others. But here's where we circle back to that initial idea, the connection to modern trolling.
Yeah.
What happened after Plato? Did everyone perfectly replicate the deep self-examination part?
Well, that's the argument in some of our source material. Many who came after seemed, perhaps more drawn to the arguing part than the self-knowledge part. It's easier to challenge others than to rigorously challenge yourself, isn't it?
So they skipped the hard work and went straight to arguing with strangers forever, as one source puts it.
It's a potential distortion, yeah. Socrates used the dialectic, that back-and-forth questioning, as a tool for truth. But he operated within limits. The argument ended when someone admitted ignorance, or when they literally walked away, left the Agora. There was a physical and social boundary.
Which doesn't exist online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's imagine Socrates today. Twitter, podcasts. What happens?
Oh, wow. Banned from X within days, probably. For violating terms of service around, relentless questioning. His refusal to offer easy answers would frustrate algorithms built for engagement.
Huh. Yeah, I can see that. But maybe you have a killer podcast.
Definitely. A top-tier debate show. Probably a huge Patreon following from people who admire the intellectual combat. But his core method, forcing uncomfortable self-reflection without providing comforting solutions, is fundamentally disruptive in any era, maybe especially ours. #tag outro.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway? Socrates' power wasn't just his logic, was it? It was that absolute, unwavering commitment to his method, his principles, even when it cost him everything.
Yeah, intellectual honesty above all else, even above life itself. It's a profound standard.
And it makes you think about those online arguments, doesn't it? When someone's pushing you, questioning everything.
Yeah.
Are they just trying to get a rise out of you, just trolling?
Or are they attempting a kind of Socratic inquiry, maybe clumsily, trying to force you to examine your own assumptions even if they don't quite know how or why? The intent matters, but the effect can feel similar.
The big difference, though, is that accountability piece you mentioned. Socrates knew the conversation ended when someone left the Agora.
Exactly. There was a physical limit, a social cue. The agora closed. People went home. The argument had a natural conclusion.
But online,
Hmm.
the Agora never closes. The algorithm wants you to stay engaged forever. So here's the final thought, maybe for you listening. What is the modern equivalent of leaving the Agora?
That's a great question. When the debate is literally infinite, when do you decide enough is enough? When does consistency or just your own sanity mean stepping away, even if the argument isn't won? When is it time to just log off?
Something to definitely ponder next time you're deep in the comments section. A fascinating deep dive. Thanks for unpacking Socrates with us.
Always a pleasure. Challenging assumptions is what it's all about. Until next time.